In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how our team booked more than 50 sales calls last week at an in-person event, and exactly how you can leverage the same things that we did to get calls anytime you are networking with people face to face. Now, we dropped $25,000 on this booth to sponsor the Go High Level event and booked just north of 50 calls, probably closer to 60 in just those 2.5 days. Now, to be totally fair, there was a little bit of a half day prior, another half day on the back end, but we kind of changed our strategy midway through. And in this video, I will break down everything we use to not just go there to network, but to actually put opportunities on our calendar for our sales team to enroll them into our high ticket B2B coaching offer. Now, one of the things I want to mention on the front end is it's obviously great to have some team members go with you if you can. If there's just one person, it's obviously hard to talk to a whole bunch of people as one individual, but when you have a team there, you guys can kind of work the room. Different people, styles, personalities will resonate with different people. So obviously having women there to speak to other women, men to speak to some of the men, vice versa, helps a lot just in terms of being able to cover a lot of ground with the minimal and limited time that you do have at some of these events. Now, in that friendly competition, we essentially had myself and another sales rep. We had our client success team there as well, booking a few calls, mostly kind of feeding and triaging conversations. Then Alex, our founder, was just doing his Alex thing and kind of being a cowboy, booking his own calls as well. And that's okay because all of us had the intention of not just going there to get leads or contact info, but to get people booked on the calendar. So let's go through the exact playbook of how we did that and kind of what you can learn from this as well. So first thing we did was we actually got a booth, right? We didn't just attend the event. Now, just attending the event probably would have been okay as well. But when you have a booth, there's actually a reason for people to come by, stop, look at it, and check out what you're doing. We didn't do anything that fancy. We just had a pretty big background that promised to give out the one call close playbook we had developed and a couple of side banners with some testimonials. So nothing too crazy. And this event, very fortunately, was designed in a way where the attendees were encouraged at least twice a day to go network with the exhibitors. So we had people always kind of working and walking around the room. So one of the kind of just, again, mindsets and just foundational baseline things you need to be considering when you're getting into this is know the event schedule. Know when people are going to be actually attending speaking sessions and when they're going to be out and about, because obviously you want to coordinate your time accordingly. In the morning at this event, there wasn't a lot going on. There's typically big speakers on stage, but by around noon to 1:30, then at the end of the day, 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, they had specific slots where people would be out and about networking and in the area where we would want to have our time and energy be focused. Another big one is if you're going to get a booth, don't just sit behind the booth. I was just like shaking my head at so many of the exhibitors who would just kind of sit in the chairs and wait for people to come to them. You're going to get a lot less opportunities if you're doing that. I want you to be standing up, go directly to and talk to people, and we'll talk about how to kind of get their attention and get them to stop in their tracks in a minute. But don't just wait around for them to come to you. You got to get up and go to them. This is just like sales in person, right? The more you wait around for prospects to come to you, the less sales you're going to make. You got to get up, go out there and get in front of them. And then this is just more of a personal preference. I told myself I was going to be a good boy this year and not, hang out too late after hours and drink with all of the other degenerates. All love, just kidding. Some good people there, obviously. But yeah, just for me and my style, I'm really wanting to conserve my energy because I'm pretty much on my feet all morning from, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Was just to not go spend those after hours with everyone else who was drinking, having a good time, because maybe for them, they didn't have as much money on the line. They didn't make the investment to get the booth. They were just there to maybe learn, hang out, and network. And that wasn't my intention. So you just want to know what you're there for. And some of those conversations might be worthwhile, but by the time you get to the end of the day, everyone's tired and they're starting to drink and there's laser light shows and they're doing silly after hours events. Not my style. So just food for thought, maybe not relevant for you if you're watching this. All right. So we did actually make a strategic pivot here at the event. That's probably helpful to note. On our first day, we only booked one sales call, but got over 100 opt-ins. And so how did this happen? Essentially, we were wanting to get the free opt-in, and then we were trying to sell a $497 collection of those playbooks. We noticed two things. Even though the playbook bundle did come with some other extras, the playbooks themselves felt kind of just like a book. And so people weren't necessarily in their brain attached attaching a $497 value to this playbook. And then we also realized that because there was so many people there at the event, like easily over 1,000, over 20 different exhibitors, there was just too much going on to take a stranger in a conversation from zero to give me $500. And so pretty much after day one, we made the decision to pivot. And we were selling, air quotes, and I'll explain this in a minute, the playbooks for $97, but really giving them away for free as a carrot to book a call with us, and then just really going to book specific calls. So that was kind of the pivot we had made. And again, depending on the size of the event, sometimes if it's a smaller event, it might be worthwhile to sell something higher ticket or mid ticket to get them into the ecosystem. But we had realized it just wasn't a good use of our time. We were going for booked calls. All right, so another big lesson here is when you're attending these events, especially if you have a booth, people don't really care that much about swag. Most of the time, it's just going to go home and be given to their kids or go into the garbage. So instead, we wanted to lead with something extremely valuable, and that's because money follows the people who provide the most value. And so we decided to make a collection. I can go grab it off my shelf here in a minute. I'm not going to do it. I'll maybe put it in the thumbnail of the video. But this really nice collection of 7 playbooks. Altogether, it was about 130 pages. Then we took a piece of one of those playbooks, so playbook number 5 on the one call close, and we printed a bunch of those copies individually to give them out for free. And so we did a number of different things. We obviously had some of the banners kind of promoting like, hey, get a free copy of our one call close playbook. Just ask us how. We actually also a little bit of a ask for forgiveness and not permission. This one looks like it's in verse because we ended up going over to the VIP lunch and just putting these out on a lot of tables as well, because at the end of the day, if people get them in their hand and they read them, they're going to get a lot of value from it. They're going to wonder where this came from and then go start asking questions about it. And people would just eventually start coming out of the woodwork saying, hey, I found this thing. Could you guys tell me more about what this looks like? And it was helpful to, again, plant these seeds to get people coming over to our booth. So let's talk about, now that we've covered some of the logistics, the actual meat of kind of what we did here to make this happen for ourselves. And one of the things that we did was you got to stop people in their tracks. So like I said, don't sit at the booth, be out there looking for and talking to people. Now, it was kind of funny because I noticed if I ever used like this, hey, did you guys get a free copy of this yet? I would get some interest sometimes, and that was usually the easy way to like lean into a conversation. But a lot of times, like if you've ever been to Vegas or downtown LA, you get people like trying to hand you CDs or like flick cards at you that you try and take from their hands, and they try and rope you into doing something. That's kind of what I felt like. And so my style is much more jovial and playful. And so I did actually 2 other things that might sound kind of cringe on the surface, but worked really well for me. So the first one was I would do an eye contact joke, or if someone made eye contact with me, I'd jokingly, and it wasn't like if they were too far away, within like 10 to 20 feet, to go, oh, no. You made eye contact with me. Now we have to talk. Sorry. And then I'd go up and approach them. And so that would always get a little bit of a laugh and a chuckle out of them. Now, on another extreme, sometimes I would go up to people and I would jokingly say, free drugs? Now, on the surface, that sounds like a crazy person. Why would you be at a professional event saying free drugs? And it was because of the tonality and the delivery, right? And so essentially, I'll try and play it out. I go, hey, you guys want some free drugs? Oh, shoot, I'm sorry. That's my next job. Let me start over. I turn around, go back. Hey, so let me ask, do you guys do your own sales calls, or do you have a team do sales calls? And pretty much 95% of the time, I would get a laugh out of someone. Even if they didn't stop, people would say, oh, that was good. I like that. That got my attention. Because the point is, it is a pattern interrupt. And if you can get people to lower their guard by laughing a little bit, that's fine. And so for the very few handful of people that didn't think that was funny, I would say, oh, that didn't land with you? I'm so sorry. Let me try again. And then again, it would usually get a chuckle. Some people are going to be in their feelings and not down for, that type of humor. But at the end of the day, like if they aren't, then they're probably not going to be our type of clients either, because it was obviously just a joke. But the point is to do something that gets them to laugh, to stop what they're doing, because they're going from point A to point B and you're in the middle. You have to do something that's going to get them to stop and listen up and give you 5-10 seconds of their time to open up that door to whatever that conversation you want to have with them is. And so, you also just want to make sure that as you are generating these conversations, you avoid energy vampires. Now, once you've at an event for long enough, you can kind of tell and feel out the room of who are the people who are more serious, who are kind of, or versus who are just there kind of like not as serious is the polite way that I will say it. You have to guard your energy because the people who aren't as serious, they will very often take up a lot of your time just asking questions with no intention of moving the ball down the field. You have to know when to be able to get away from that and politely say, "Hey, I enjoyed this conversation so much. Maybe we can catch up later. I got to go help these other people over here. Thank you for blah blah blah." Or people who will come try and pitch us because we have a booth and they would try and pitch us their services. And for them, I'd be a little more blunt. I'd be like, "Hey man, look, we spent $25,000 to try and get customers from this event. So I'm gonna go have some conversations with people who we think we can help, and then maybe you and I can catch up later." So I was still polite, but trying to just get rid of those energy vampires who's trying to pitch you, or who just want to have a conversation and network, because that's not what I was there to do. I was there to book calls. All right, so let's talk about now, once you've got their interest, I'll slow down here just a little bit because this is where it really matters. And so you've got their attention, you made some silly joke, you said, "Hey, did you get a copy of this free thing?" And again, like having it printed also makes it this feel valuable and tangible. So just food for thought. But I've been teaching this QPE framework for almost a decade now, and it's essentially the same exact appointment setting process I do online, but you can leverage it in person as well. And so I would take someone literally within a minute to getting their opt-in, name, email, phone number, and then within 5 minutes or less, I would typically get them to book a call with us. And here's exactly how I did that. So I do the pattern interrupt, and then I'd qualify them with a very quick question. I'd say, "Hey, just out of curiosity, like, are you taking sales calls yourself currently, or does your team kind of handle them?" Some people, about 10, 20%, didn't take sales calls, were affiliates, or wasn't their role, or just weren't the right fit. And I said, "Hey, no problem. Then this probably isn't for you. No hard feelings. Thanks for giving me a moment." And then I would just let them go, right? I'm not going to go try and get the opt-in from someone who's not a good fit or doesn't fit the criteria of who we are looking for. And then they would say, "Oh, like I do my calls or my team does the calls." And I'd go, "Hey, like, no problem. Let me, do you want a free copy of this? We've been teaching this for 10 years. It should help you guys out a lot." And then as I'd hand it to them, I'd go, "Hey, by the way, do you have your cell phone on you by chance? Do you mind just grabbing that out real quick for a second?" Cool. So go ahead and scan this. And then I would ask them for the opt-in, right? And you'll see in a little bit later, I kind of made a joke about essentially like, "Hey, and we'll follow up with you until you give us money." Because for us, we're marketing to marketing and salespeople. So their sophistication and understanding of marketing and sales is much higher than the average consumer or average business owner. And so with them, you have to be very blunt, very matter of fact, very much tell them exactly what's going to happen. Because if they feel like you're trying to do any like, sneaky Trojan horse, backhanded marketing sales, they'll feel it. And they will give you resistance because of that. And so I'm just very blunt with people. I tell them like, opt in and we're going to follow up with you until you give us money, because they know that's already what's going to happen. So I make a joke about it to lower their guard and take that ammo from them so they can't use it out loud or in their brain against me. Now I'd pivot over to a pain question. I'd always go like, "Hey, so like, what are you hoping to like get out of this event? What are you here to learn?" Some people didn't have that answer. They didn't know. So I'd kind of pivot to, "Hey, so I guess like, what are you maybe hoping you would solve in your business right now by attending this?" I'm digging for a pain point. I want them to tell me, "Oh, I want to learn how to get more clients or do this thing or this or whatever it is." It doesn't really matter because the E part here is extend the olive branch. And so what I would do is say, "Hey, I know you're running around, there's a lot of things happening here, but would you be opposed? Like if we could connect on like a 15, 20-minute call next week, I can give you some really good feedback on what our clients are doing to solve X, Y, Z. That way you can kind of have that answer, but we don't have to talk about it here for like an hour." And so again, taking away the ammo that they already have in their head. It's like, "I'm busy. There's a lot going on. I don't have time for this full-blown conversation." But through the lens of offering support to help solve X, Y, Z at a later time allowed me to book calls really quickly. I had the calendar all ready to go, or we already had their opt-in because they opted in name, email, phone number first for the freebie. And then I could just schedule it in the system. And to be totally fair, this was the part that was probably the messiest for us. We'd have some people we would write down and then schedule later. Some people we'd schedule right then and there on the opt-in page. Some people we had a team calendar link. And so it got a little messy once it got chaotic, and we booked like 30 of those 50 sales calls within like one half of one day. But eventually we came back around to it and put them all in there. So no big deal. And again, I'm looking to get the opt-in immediately, as well as a calendar invite scheduled. And then what I also tried to do was send a little quick personal voice note to that person about what we spoke about, and then also as notes for the team to refer back to later, because obviously it's hard to remember every single conversation after you come off an event like that. All right, cool. So already spoke about this part. We're not just networking, guys. We're not just getting opt-ins. And to be fair, and I love one of the other exhibitors next to us because we know them, they're clients. And I like another one of the exhibitors next to us because we just had met them there. But they were not booking as many sales calls as we were. And I had noticed it was a lot of times because they were waiting for people to come to their booth and talk to them. Or two, they were just kind of having general conversations. And so maybe they were getting opt ins and interest in some leads, but we were getting booked sales calls. And I'm willing to bet that we booked more sales calls than any other exhibitor there. Maybe some other people got more leads from maybe gimmicky opt-ins, but I highly doubt anyone booked more actual calls on the calendar because that was the goal and the mission, and we had a very good framework to do that. What I would also try and do is make sure we kind of triage them live a little bit. So the CS team who was triaging those calls, they would kind of take some notes, tag them hot, warm, cold, depending on the context of the individual, and then always had that those notes of what happened during that conversation. And so when during triage, when we were following up with them later to make sure they're showing up to sales calls, I'll update you on how all of those go, making sure that we can use what they said to remind them of why it's important. Because again, they come off an event week and they're just overwhelmed by all the things going on. The likelihood that it's still a big priority to them is probably diminished. So you want to make sure you have those good notes to bring that back and use it for them. Another kind of fun thing we did here was leverage some social proof. Where we just had our clients hanging out at our booth, and we had 4 clients speaking on different stages throughout the event. A number of them name dropped our company and like, hey, get coaching and mentorship because it's one of the most important things you can do. My coaches at Prospecting on Demand are here at this event. Go talk to them. And then when they were hanging out at our booth and we were talking to the prospects, they would just casually throw things out like, yeah, this is the best program you can be a part of. It's amazing. It's great. And that would sell better for us than we ever could for ourselves because they're hearing it directly from someone else like them. And so we could kind of borrow that credibility with these kind of moles that we had planted, not all on purpose. We did actually have one client we kind of shoehorned into getting stage time, but well-deserved stage time. And then she was able to name drop us as well. And yeah, guys, this was, I know, kind of drinking from a fire hose style video here. I just wanted to come back in here, get my feet back on YouTube, this YouTube channel again. I took a little bit of a hiatus, but give you guys some context and value in terms of how you can book dozens and dozens and dozens of sales calls with just in a few days by attending live events. Kissing hands and shaking babies. I'm just kidding. Kissing babies, shaking hands. I didn't do either. I didn't kiss any babies. I didn't shake any babies. I didn't kiss any hands. I did shake a lot of hands. I did meet a lot of people. And a weird outro for the video. But anyways, if you found this helpful, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leverage this. And again, don't go to events and network. Go there to build pipeline. The goal isn't conversations, it's conversions and calendar commitments. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat or the comments below. I'll do my best to respond to every single one. But remember, go there with something valuable to give away. Use pattern interrupts to get people to stop in their tracks and leverage the QPE framework to quickly move that conversation to a booked call so you can get on to the next one. Triage your calls so they show up and you can use their own language against them for them so they do show and they remember why it's important to them and why it's a priority. And this is the way to make a lot of money from live events. See you in the next one.